Hi everyone. My name is Katie Franco. I'm the executive director here at Girl Develop It, and we're so excited about our Career Expo. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to introduce my guests with me. First is Rebecca Shaddix Sadwick, who is our board chair. Rebecca, do you want to say a couple words?
I'd love to. Thanks, Katie. We are thrilled that all of you are here joining us today. We know that every aspect of our work is better when more diverse perspectives are included, and we're excited to see how our collaboration here today and beyond can bring a more productive, diverse, inclusive workplace. So thank you for joining us.
Amazing. And thank you so much, Rebecca, for being here today. And thank you for all the board's leadership who gets us to do these amazing events. I also have Nicole Calhoun with me today. I'm going to pause on her and come back because she's our main keynote here. But real quick, I just want to welcome everyone to GDI. Again, if this is your first event with us, welcome. If you've been to a whole bunch of events, welcome back. We're so excited about our building and a continuing growing community. If you don't know who we are, we're a nonprofit organization whose mission is to provide welcoming, inclusive, and accessible training for women and non-binary adults in software development. Programs like this, our career programming, we have added in because we realize there's still a huge barrier for getting folks who are learning into the dream jobs that they're trying to chase. So we're really excited about this event, what we've put together for you. A couple quick housekeeping items just to get you settled. This is our conference platform. So up top on your screen, you should have a little button that says agenda. When you click on that, at any point in the day, you can navigate to any of the workshops that you want to hop into. The main stage is where we are now. But again, you can hop in and out as this throughout as we go. We'll be on this stage for this session and the next session, and then we'll be in the workshops. And feel free to navigate in and out of those as much or as little as you like. There's a lot of ways to ask questions and direct message to speakers in those workshop sessions. And then tomorrow at the same time, we'll be back on the stage with our keynote, and then we'll jump into workshops again. So this is really designed for kind of a choose your own adventure model. Come and see what you need and what you want to do. The other piece of housekeeping is, we're all together in the shared virtual community. And as we come together in any way here at Girl Develop It, we always want to talk about our code of conduct. As we meet new people and we engage in new ways, we just want to make sure we're always respectful and mindful of others and what they need and their styles. So please be sure, if you ever have questions about our code of conduct, it's on our website. Our board and our board chair, like Rebecca, takes care of that. If you ever have questions or feel like we didn't meet that, please reach out and let us know how we can do better. And then the other thing is just, get to know GDI. We're going to offer a bunch of classes this summer. We'll be starting to offer some more asynchronous offerings where you can get the recording and then come to a lab session to learn more, and some other things a little bit more on demand for folks who have been looking for that. So we'll have a bunch of stuff coming this summer. We do have memberships here at GDI, which lets you pay one fee to access all of our classes and events throughout the year, as well as some mentorship options. And then also, I think that take a time, events like this, we do these for free because we want to include as many people as we can. But if you're ever inclined, please go ahead and make a small donation to GDI to help us do events like this so we can continue to grow and continue to offer this and continue to ensure we can help support so many folks to reach their dreams. That is my housekeeping, boring stuff. Now I am so excited to introduce Nicole Calhoun. Nicole is somebody who I got to know when I started at GDI about 3 years ago, and she just stepped in and stepped up and said, how can I help? How can I help the community? I have this history. I've been in the tech field for a long time, and I have struggled, and I want to help others figure out how to get over that struggle and build their dream careers. And Nicole has done an amazing job and has some exciting things that she's up to. So Nicole, I'm going to turn it over to you. Nicole, Rebecca and I are going to step back and let you walk us through some of your thinking and thoughts and really some of the ways that you've invoked courage to really make your career special. So again, thank you for being here. We'll go in the background and turn it over. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you, Katie. So ladies, look, if you've been in any of my sessions, any of my webinars, any of my cohorts, I like interaction. So hey, I'm going to ask you, first off, let us know, put in the chat where you are located, where you're dialed in from. I am here in Dallas, Texas, but we want to know where you're dialed in from. We don't want to assume that we're all in the United States. Some of you may be global. I've had people in my classes from South America. I've had people from East Coast, West Coast. So go ahead and put in the chat where you are dialed in from. Okay, I'm not sure how many people we have here, but I am pretty sure we have enough to start typing in that chat. So put in the chat where you dialed in from. We love to see that. All right. Katie, are you all seeing anything in the chat? All right. So we're going to need to be able to hear from you all because I'm going to do lots of interactions during this time. So I want to make sure we hear.
Nicole. Sorry to interrupt you. It is a little confusing because we're in different rooms right now. So if you look on the right-hand side, it's backstage, but there's also a stage and a general. If you click on stage and general, you'll see that we've got lots of people from all over the place.
Can they hear me? Can they hear me right now?
Yeah.
Because it still says I'm in backstage. Okay, so let me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry. I didn't understand. Yep, they can hear you. And on the actual main stage, we've got people chatting from all over, but you just have to make sure that you're actually looking on the stage piece of it. We've got folks from Boulder, Miami, New York, Los Angeles. It does look like we might have lost Nicole. So hello, everyone. I'm Katie Bryden. I'm our community director here at GDI. And Nicole, like with all things tech, was having a moment of computer difficulty with her camera right before we started because we can't have an event without a computer issue, right? So she will be back shortly and getting things up and running. But I do appreciate you being able to use this chat. This probably gives us a good opportunity quickly to point out Nicole is presenting right now. So she herself looks like she's in a little room and she's only seeing the chats in that room. Later on, when we break up into workshops, you will also be breaking out into sessions, which is really incredible. And you'll be able to see the chat from this session, which is the main stage, but you're also going to see the sessions from you're also going to be able to see the chats in your own specific room. So just make sure that when you're on there, you're looking to see that there's a general session and a stage session as well, so that you can see all the chats that are happening with you.
Hi, Katie. I just jumped back in because I feel like is Nicole reaching out to you to get back on?
She's not quite yet, but I will let you handle this, Katie. If you want, I'm just going to give her a call real quick.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for being patient and loving, and yay. Thanks for my plant. Okay. It's not about me. I'll call Nicole. Bye.
Okay, great. While Nicole's getting back on, I just want to take a minute and talk about the agenda for a second, because I am really pumped about that. And I think there are some really unique sessions. So I will just real quick, after this session at 1:45, we have a really cool session about networking on LinkedIn. Our speaker is Akita DeRuin, who's another one of our board members, and she is an expert of how to use LinkedIn to sort of approach people, start getting conversations going, and really be able to make some business deals and career deals out of those opportunities. And then we have an amazing conversation on tips for successful interviewing. And this is a little bit more not the technical side of interviewing, more of the softer side of interviewing, where we will be going over sort of etiquette, especially on the virtual space where interviewing has become really different, how people look and how you're talking and what the expectations are. And then at 2:30, we'll be having a really great conversation with Liz Howard. If many of you have taken our classes, you've probably taken a class with Liz Howard. She's been teaching our technical interviewing classes for the past year. And throughout these classes, she's been able to share some really cool, insightful tips on salary negotiations, that stuff that we don't like to do. I know it makes me feel real icky asking for what I think I want and deserve in salary. And so she's got some great tips and a really good perspective on it. So I really, that's going to be a great session like they all are. And then at 3 o'clock, we're going to have the Pivot with Purpose with Jessica Dean Early Cha. She's also one of our board members, an amazing leader in the space, and has really thought through sort of how do you recast yourself? How do you say, I have been in education for 20 years and now I want to become, a software engineer? And how do I tell that story that I have, my software engineering time? I mean, my teaching time hasn't just been about, kids in classrooms, but I'm using software and I've been developing it for a long time. So that's going to be a really insightful conversation. And then at 3:30, we will talk about maximizing mentorship. So really mentorship, this is sort of a look at the bigger picture about, when you have a mentor, when you finally get that, golden opportunity to talk to somebody, how do you maximize it? What do you do with those opportunities and how do you make them be incredibly impressive? So that is our agenda for today. Which is really exciting. And again, looking forward to it. All of these folks are really accessible and are really big supporters of GDI and our community and are up for whatever they can do to help. The one thing I did forget to mention, because I jumped right into our workshops, that after this session with Nicole, we will be staying on the stage and we have 3 folks who represent different companies who are coming to talk about hiring and what they look for and what they do. So we have somebody from Home Chef, somebody from Chase Bank, and someone from ServiceNow. 3 very different companies, do very different things, looking for very different people. But what we're really asking them today is tell us more about your process. Tell us what you're looking for. Tell us about the people. Tell us about what it feels like to interview with your company. That's the kind of stuff that we are looking for. So that's going to be a great session. Katie Bryden, who just joined us a second ago and jumped off, she'll be leading that. And will be a really great chance just to ask all the questions that you've ever wanted to ask someone who's hiring you. Nicole's back, which is great. Sorry, Nicole. Sorry about the technical stuff and the ether and like the internet of things.
So hopefully everyone, you all are able to hear me now. It looked like I kind of jumped out and disappeared, but we're all in technology, so we know how that goes. But anyway, it looks like we have people from all over, and I love that. I really love that. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in to my session. But one thing I want to say is, isn't this wonderful? A wonderful girl develop event. I mean, how or where else would you get this many rock star women technologists in one space, right? Well, today we're going to have a chance and the privilege to hear from some of the most inspiring and amazing women in our industry, but also I want you all to know that you all are some of the most amazing women yourselves. In fact, if you were here in person, I would ask you to give yourselves a round of applause, but I will do that for you because you have chosen careers and fields that, let's just be honest, isn't the easiest for us at all times, right? So you're making it work. And so I want to give you all an applause. Now, I am excited because today I get to basically tell you my story. That's what I get to do. And without a doubt, when I tell this story, I always have people who approach me with questions. They want to know. They want to know more. They want to know how I did it. They want to know when is the right time to do some of the things that I'm going to share. They want to know how they can do it. And so I am going to share some information later on, if that is you, for how you can get involved in another cohort later on, if that's okay with you. But we're going to go ahead and delve into this topic. So while I can't see all of you, there's something that I know about this group. You all are women of all ages, ethnicities, career stages. You are daughters, sisters, mothers, your friends, your wives. You are women who are delicately balancing multiple roles while being the ultimate professionals. You all are, you have the potential to exude great power, strength, and dignity while you're at it, right? And I love this. I love it because I didn't see this when I first started my career. Now, I began my career 25 years ago in an old dingy building right outside of Detroit, Michigan called Chevrolet Central Office. It was part of, well, it's still part of GM. They're just not located in that same place anymore. But I was fresh out of college and I had landed a job making more money than I had ever seen in my life, a meager $30,000. Yeah, what did I know at that time? I was in my early 20s. And I remember as I was walking through those security doors for the first time, thinking, girl, you've made it to the top. Until my manager took me to my cubicle in the basement. But down there, I met other college grads who were like me. We were entering the system engineering development program. We were excited. We were a bunch of newbies. We were eager and we were naive. But what I didn't know I was in for one of the biggest challenges of my life. And that was the struggle to dictate my career direction while remaining true to self. And it was because I had chosen a career in a male dominated industry. But for me, that struggle took me on a journey. And that journey became one of the best things to ever happen for me. Like many of you, I've experienced frustration when I didn't get the promotion or the opportunities or the raises. I've been passed over, underpaid, and overutilized. And I told myself it was because I was not one of the guys. That was the biggest lie I could have ever told myself. See, I expected a direct shot up the career ladder. But my reality was more like climbing a mountain, more like Mount Everest to be exact. And I almost gave up until I realized I was holding back by trying to be someone else. See, I have a set of unique skills and talents, and so do you. And guess what? They are your superpowers. Yes, in this industry, sometimes we do feel limited. Yes, it seems like we're being held back. But in order for you to be more effective, you have to be intentional to be yourself. And you know who taught me that? My mom. My mom is the epitome of I am woman, hear me roar. And when I was growing up, her number one concern was taking care of her family. So she wasn't letting anything or anyone stop her. My mom grew up in foster care. So she learned to fend for herself pretty early on. It kind of came with the territory. And because of it, she wasn't beyond doing a man's job. I remember when I was a teenager, my mom wanted to move the couch up the stairs. She said, come on, Nikki, let's move the couch upstairs. I said, what now? You want me to do what? Now, of course, I didn't say that out loud. That was back in the 80s, the 90s. There were consequences back then. So instead, I tried to get out of it. I said, Mom, but I can't lose. Now, at the time, I was barely 100 pounds, and I thought she would feel sorry for me. She didn't. She said, be quiet, girl, and pick up your end. So I grabbed my end and going first, started heading towards the stairs. And there was this extremely narrow corner to go up the stairs. So we had to turn that corner. And you should have seen us starting and stopping and starting and stopping, trying to get that full-size couch around that corner. And by the time we got it to fit, we were worn out. Now remember, I went first, which meant going up the stairs, I was at the top and she was at the bottom. But now we're worn out. We're tired. So as we started heading up the stairs, that couch started to slip and she yelled out, girl, don't you let this thing fall on me. Now we did eventually get that couch up the stairs. And a month later, she wanted it back down the stairs. See, whether or not I thought I could do something, I was doing it according to my mom. No excuses. But now I'm not afraid to do certain things and try certain things. And sadly, I used to hide that daring side of me. But it's that daring side that makes me determined, persistent, a problem solver, critical thinker, all the things that make me great at what I do. I learned that hiding my true self will never get me where I want to be. And you know what? Hiding your true self will never get you where you want to be. To get where you want to be, you need to be courageous, to be uniquely you. So, how do you unleash the real you? Let me get my screen back up here. There we go. How do you unleash the real you? Well, you start with self-discovery. Sorry about that. You start with self-discovery. I want you to do something. In fact, let me go back one more slide. I want you, when I tell you go, I want you to do something for me. All right? I want you to, I don't want to tell you yet because then you'll start doing it. Here we go. I want you to type 4 of your top skills in the chat in 40 seconds. So 4 of your top skills in the chat, 40 seconds, go. Four top skills, 40 seconds. All right, time's up. So how many of you would say that was easy? If you thought that was easy, I want you to type yes in the chat. Or I want you to type easy in the chat. If you thought that was easy, type easy in the chat. How many of you thought that was easy? Okay. Now, if you thought that was hard, I want you to type hard in the chat. How many of you thought that was hard? Type hard in the chat. Christian said it was easy. How many of you thought that was hard? Now, every time I do this, most people say that it's hard. And that's why self-discovery is important. Because as women in these industries, sometimes it feels like it's extremely hard to get where we want to be. And we begin to think it's because we're women. Now, there's some truth to that, but that's not the only thing holding us back. I've coached and trained many women, and there's a common thread that I see. There are some fundamentals that we don't know about ourselves. Now, that's what's holding us back. We don't know who we are, our values, our worth, our skills. So when we show up lacking confidence. We're frustrated and defeated. And that's not who you are. You are women of value. One of my previous clients, let's say her name is Maria. Maria is amazing, but she didn't see her own value. And it was to the point that it paralyzed her. It really did paralyze her. Now, once we started working on her self-discovery journey, she was able to see what everyone else saw in her. She was able to discover things about herself that she didn't realize. And since then, she's approached her boss for her path to promotion. In fact, she's been promoted. So as you can see, once you solidify who you are, the whole world responds in agreement. So who are you? Who is Tanya? Who is Joyce? Who is Fatima? What do you bring to the table? You are a unique package of skills and talents, but do you even see it? It took a painful incident for me to arrive at my own self-discovery. I was at a fork in the road, traveling two paths. On one hand, I was seeking a promotion. On the other hand, I was pursuing my passion of empowering women. Both took extreme amounts of time and work. Now, I want to pause here to say I don't tell this story to place blame. In fact, this person has been very supportive in my advancement. And ultimately, what happens next in the story became a gift to help me solidify who I am. So on this day, our senior leaders wanted to showcase their direct reports. And we had presentations where they put their reports, their people, pictures on the slides, their org charts, and they explained their roles. Well, when they began presenting, I was reminded that of my colleagues, I was the only woman, the only African American, and the only person who was not a vice president, though my role was very significant. In fact, they couldn't do their job without my role. And just before our slide was presented, the thought flashed in my mind. I wonder if I'm on that slide. And guess what? I wasn't there. My heart sank. Years of suppressing myself flashed by. Years of working hard and being passed over flashed by. Years of hoping that next year would be the year to make VP flashed by. First, I was hurt. Then I was angry. Then after about a week of going over every possible scenario in my head of how that could have occurred, I finally talked to my boss. And we had a very tough conversation about why things like this happen to women. Now, he quickly fixed it, but it didn't fix me. And I had to ask myself, Nicole, what do you really want? I knew what I wanted was to help women who were like me. That was my defining moment. That was when I realized who I was. Look, you'll never be fully satisfied until you find out who you are. So how do you discover the real you? Well, let's look and see. You start with self-discovery. You start with self-discovery. Start with your passions. What do you love doing so much you would do it for free? I know this sounds weird, but when you can tie your passions to the work that you do, it actually you actually give more. You do more. Because you're passionate about it. Understand your skills and expertise. In what ways do your colleagues and your clients seek your advice? Own your accomplishments. Many of you have earned your companies or even saved your companies millions of dollars, but you take it for granted. Get clear on who you are, because you all are amazing. So self-discovery was first. The next is self-esteem. Now, I've noticed something among women, and it doesn't matter, entry-level, mid-career, or senior leader, we all struggle with something called imposter syndrome. And I'm sure you all have heard of this term. We've heard it a lot in the last few years. But imposter syndrome is it's the self-doubt, the feelings that we're incompetent despite our education, our experience level, our accomplishments. We say things like, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, or they're going to find out I'm a fraud. In 2021, the the consulting firm KPMG reported that 75% of women executives, so these are senior women, 75% experience imposter syndrome. Now, imposter syndrome comes from several factors. One is a lack of self-discovery. And this is why we have to understand our skills and our own accomplishments. But imposter syndrome is a self-esteem killer. And self-esteem is important because people will only treat you the way you allow yourself to be treated. They know when you see value in yourself. Think about it. How many highly confident people did your bullies in high school boss around? They didn't. So people know when you see value in yourself. Now I want you to do something. I want you to take a moment and I want you to grab your phone. If you have it handy, grab your phone. Now that doesn't mean to start checking your text messages or social media or anything like that, okay? And I want you to open your camera app and turn to it so you can see yourself. While you're doing that, I think I am still in the wrong area. So I'm going to try to get over so I can see this chat because I can't really see it. So while you're getting your phone, I'm going to get over to the stage. At least that's what I think I'm going to do.
Oops, thanks, we lost Nicole again. I think she left the stage rather than going to the chat, which is not a problem. We will take an extra minute to make those recordings to yourself, and we'll get her back on here. Just hold on one second. Cool. I really do want to thank everyone for sharing their LinkedIn in the chat. That is really helpful. So thank you for doing that. Feel free to keep doing that. Here comes Nicole back.
Okay, I tried to get to you all so I could see your comments because I can't see your comments backstage. So my apologies.
No worries, Nicole. We gotcha.
So now you have your camera app. You should have your camera app up. So what I want you to do is I want you to turn the camera so that you can see yourself. Okay? Turn the camera so that you can see yourself. And I want you to look at yourself. Actually look at yourself in the camera. And repeat after me. I am a woman of value. All right? Now I want you to say that again because even though I can't hear you, I've done this enough to know that The way you said it was, right? So I want you to say it again, but I want you to say it with more okay? So say, I am a woman of value. Okay, I'm going to trust that this time when you said it, you did, say it a little bit more powerfully. But I want you to say it so that if I were to hear you, I would believe you. I want you to believe it. And assuming you're not in your offices right now, I want whoever is in the house with you to believe it. Okay, so that means they need to hear it too. You may even need to stand up and say, I am a woman of value. All right. I'm sure you all did a great job, but I want you to keep practicing that and saying that to yourself so that you believe it. Because believing that you are valuable builds self-esteem. And before you know it, you'll have something that we call executive presence. Now, have you ever seen someone walk into a room and they capture everyone's attention? Executive presence is that wow factor that exuded confidence. And guess what? When you become true to self, that confidence shows up. You walk a little taller, you speak with greater certainty, and people notice. But it's hard to be confident when you aren't being yourself, isn't it? I have this t-shirt. Let me put it on the screen so you can see it. And I got it from someone, and I wish I could still I wish I still had the capability of ordering this t-shirt. But the t-shirt says, she remembered who she was, and the game changed. For years, I tried to be someone else. And because I was raised by a strong-willed, persistent, and determined mother, well, I turned out to be the same way. I also found that it didn't go over very well with some people, not all, but some people. I think women are expected to be humble and mild-mannered and meek. So when I realized that my personality didn't go over very well, I started conforming. I didn't show passion or disagreement. I wasn't too confident or too direct. I started hiding myself. You know how we do. We dumb ourselves down. We display a meek, quiet confidence, quiet humility, so that we don't offend anyone. I remember my former pastor telling me, Nicole, a lamp is not lit and then hidden under a bed. A lamp is lit to give light. The truth is, when we hide ourselves, we hide the very things about us that others need. We hide our light. We hide the things that make us great, the things that causes us to stand out. So I hid my light. And it wasn't until I stopped hiding that the game changed and the confidence came, because I had to be who I was designed to be, who God made me to be. I had to shine my light. Ladies, if you don't shine your light, if you don't let those skills and talents that you have come forth for everyone to see, how will people around us see them? How will they see what you have to offer? Here's a side note. That's why diversity works. Because it's the individual lights working together that illuminate the full picture. And until your true light shines, we're only going to see the small part of the picture. So we got to shine our light. And we do that by building our self-esteem. So we talked about self-discovery. We talked about self-esteem. Now it's time, ladies, for self-promotion. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you sell yourself. But I know enough to know that we hate doing this because we've been taught to be modest and humble. And I agree, but shouldn't everyone be humble and modest? And we've also been taught to let our work speak for us. Now, there's two problems with that. The first thing is when we do that, we put our careers in someone else's hands because we expect them to notice and put us on the path to promotion. But for many people, that never happens. It didn't happen for me. And the second is our bosses don't know every little thing that we've done. They don't know the hoops that you've jumped through to get things done, to get maybe the approvals that you needed, to find the right people at the right time, to gain buy-in for the changes that you need to make. So your bosses aren't mind readers, and they don't know your goals and aspirations unless you tell them. So we must self-promote. And there are ways that we're able to do this. Now, I want you to understand that I'm not talking about obnoxiously spewing off everything that you've ever done. I'm talking about speaking about your accomplishments with passion and excitement, the same way that you would talk about that first holiday meal that you didn't burn. Or if you're like me, person who doesn't really cook, the first time you beat your big brother or sister at a game, right? You're going to talk about that. You know what works for me? When I share my accomplishments in story format. It doesn't feel like bragging. It doesn't feel like arrogance. And I have a tool that can help you with that. It can help you with telling your story, and it's called Star Stories. So let me quickly break that down for you. So the S in STAR stands for situation. Describe a situation where that required a strong capability or savvy behavior. So it has to be something extraordinary, that a situation that you dealt with that was really extraordinary. Okay. The T is for task. List the specific task the situation called for. The A is for action. What are the specific actions you took to complete the task? For example, maybe your task was to get approval, maybe a firewall approval. So maybe you had to connect with, you had to find the risk and controls person. You had to create some documentation about why you needed firewall approval. You had to, before talking to the risk and control person, maybe gotten approval from some of your senior leaders. So just that one task of getting approval for your firewall, you have to do all those actions. And then the R in STAR stands for results. What were the results of your actions? You also want to consider what would have happened if the thing that you did wasn't done? And could anyone else have done it? So using that STAR format helps you with telling stories of your skills and accomplishments. And it can be used during interviews, periodic reviews. So if you have mid-year reviews, end of year reviews with your managers, you can use that STAR story format so that you can tell your story to your manager of the things that you have done. Also, when someone asks you, what are you working on? Right? So that's another way to use that STAR story. But STAR stories are great ways of telling your story and self-promoting. It's an excellent way of getting comfortable with that, selling yourself. Now, I'm going to tell you it's time. It's time for you to start selling yourself. It's time for you to start telling your stories. So we looked at self-discovery, we looked at self-esteem and self-promotion. And I promise you, working on those three things will absolutely change how you show up. And it will, in fact, change your career. In fact, I did ultimately get promoted to vice president. Actually, I moved out of technology, and now I am training technology leaders to be, or technologists to be leaders. And I did, in fact, get promoted. But now I did promise you all, for those of you who want to delve further into these three topics, that I would share an opportunity to do so. At the end of the month, I'll be facilitating a new cohort with a girl development called 3 Simple Keys to Boosting Your Career, where we will take a look, an in-depth look at how to begin the journey of self-discovery, how you can increase your self-esteem, and finally, how to get comfortable with self-promotion. I like to describe these cohorts as leadership or learning circles because you're going to increase your knowledge with the topics that's presented, but you're also going to be with other people in this group who will bring their unique perspectives and insights and experiences. So you're going to learn from each other as well. Now, this cohort is 4 sessions. It's starting Thursday, June 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's 6 p.m. Central. I think that's 4 p.m. Pacific. They are 90 minutes long and they're held every week. Now, there's one caveat to this. The class sizes are intentionally kept small. And I know we already have some people that are signed up right now. So if you're interested, I would highly encourage you to register right away. Okay? And I think we're putting the link to register for that in the chat. All right. Now, I'm going to close with this. I want to ask you to do one more thing. And this time, I want you to stand up if you can. I want you to stand up if it's possible. I want you to make a bold statement and repeat after me. I commit to knowing who I am. I will own who I am. I will be courageous enough to be uniquely me. Great job, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. That was awesome. Thank you so much. I was busy saying those things. That's what I couldn't click in quick enough. I was like still saying those things. Nicole, one question that came in that I would love to ask you, and we did drop in the details of your class, and I encourage everyone to do that. But somebody asked a question. I think this is such a good question that comes up quite a bit. It was about like the difference of self-promotion to people thinking that you're like over flexing or maybe like overdoing it. How do you advise people on like, I don't want to be like, oh, hi, I'm, what's the difference of that? And how do you navigate that space?
So that was actually, and while I'm answering this question, I did want to put my LinkedIn out there, or if you can put my LinkedIn out there, I don't have my link copy, but for those of you who want to connect with me, and if you connect with me, just make sure you let me know how you heard about me, and so we can go from there. But to answer your question, Katie, I struggle with that. I don't struggle with it anymore, but I struggled with it. And it was because, I felt like my work will show for itself. And what I realized was that I started seeing people move ahead, people that I'd even trained, move ahead. But they were those people that we always thought was obnoxious, right? We thought they were always patting themselves on the back. And what I noticed from that was they were communicating their capabilities. Now, I couldn't communicate that the way they did. I would feel very uncomfortable. So what I started doing is I started using the STAR stories. And so with the STAR stories, you really need to plan. For if you're a person that is you're really shy about promoting yourself, you really need to plan ahead and think of a scenario that you actually want to write these STAR stories out, so that when you're asked the question, you even want to practice saying it, so that when you're asked the question, it's very natural to you. It's not it doesn't seem like you're bragging or patting yourself on the back. In fact, I gave you all several STAR stories, and during that talking, you all didn't even realize it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like we've been told it's a flex. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what else, Katie? I've heard people say, well, when women do it, when women flex like that, it's a double standard. And, sadly, that can be true. But again, that star story, it helps. It really helps. And, you have to keep in mind too, this is your career. This is your livelihood. I don't know about you, but I have bills to pay. So you listen, let that be your motivator to start flexing, but not really flexing, but tell your stories.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, this was amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for navigating the tech challenges and just being up for this great conversation, because I do think even just the way you approach tech challenges, just like, again, embodies what you say. Just keep going. We just we just go through it, and we appreciate you so much and every time you offer. And I cannot recommend your class enough to everybody. We get a lot of feedback from a lot of our classes. This one, we get a lot of feedback. It changes the game for folks to actually spend this much time and to build community around themselves. So I did drop the link in there, and I did drop the promo code Expo50. We'd love to have that's offering a 50% discount on that class. Feel free to check it out. And again, it is limited, so do it quick. And Nicole, you're amazing. Thank you so much. I dropped your LinkedIn in so folks can connect with you. We'll let you head out. Oh, she dropped out. And then Katie Bryden's coming on for our next panel. And I think we've got 2 of our 3 folks. So we have one more person joining us, right, Katie?
We sure do. She is just logging in now. I've been in touch with her. So we can go ahead and at least start the beginning of our Meet the Hiring Manager roundtable with our awesome speakers that are here today. We're so happy to have you. Thanks, Katie. We'll give you a moment. Oh, there you go. Tanara, turning on your, hey, yay, awesome. Great. Thank you both so much. We have one more individual who will be joining us from ServiceNow. So we'll give that a minute. But for those of you that are still watching from Nicole's session, I hope that you all enjoyed that. I think that was a lot of fun. Just to sort of give yourself permission and time to sort of dig deep and see what you need to move forward with without shame or limitations. We're going to continue to talk about that, talking about what it means to work in IT with individuals from a bunch of different industry leaders with us here today. So we're going to go through, it is going to be a panel discussion. I have a number of questions that I am going to ask our panelists here today. But for our panelists, just so you know, on the right-hand side of your screen, you will be able to see, obviously, your name, where we're at backstage. If you click on the very top on the chat circle, that chat is where we've all been meeting. We've been discussing things backstage, but there's also a button that says stage. If you click on stage and scroll all the way down, that is where a lot of the questions will be coming in. So if you want to keep that live on the right-hand panel, that is going to be a lot easier for you to be able to find some of the questions that are coming in as we discuss. All of our participants are muted. We've got a ton of folks on with us today, which is really exciting. So this is where they'll be able to ask us questions and be able to share. So I'm going to go ahead and get us kicked off. Patricia will hopefully join us quickly. But yes, today's session is all about learning about IT. We have individuals with us here from JP Morgan Chase and Home Chef. To be perfectly honest, probably not the first things you think of when you think about a career in IT are these positions. So I would love to give you the opportunity to introduce both of yourselves and tell us a little bit about what it is that you do in your industry and what that looks like. So we'll start with Angie. Just introduce yourself. Tell us, obviously, you're wearing your JP Morgan Chase shirt, which is very helpful. Tell us what it is that you do in IT at JP Morgan Chase.
Yeah, so my name is Angie Del Castillo. I'm a technical recruiter at JP Morgan Chase. So I recruit entry-level software engineers from non-traditional backgrounds for our emerging talent software engineer program. So my role really involves marketing our program, getting kind of the name out there, connecting with folks, and then getting them through the interview process, all the way through to extending offers, getting those offers accepted, and then doing it all over again for our next cohort, because we bring folks on in a cohort style twice a year.
Cool. That's a great idea. I love that. Dinara, I hope I'm saying your name correctly.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you, Katie.
Okay, great.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Dinara. I work for Home Chef. I've been with Home Chef for about 4.5 years now. And the last 2 years, I've been a manager on our business analytics team, which is also part of the tech team, and have hired, I was trying to count how many, about 5 folks so far. So I have an experience as the hiring manager and kind of the person who kind of ultimately decides if this person would make sense for us to hire on our team. So I'm bringing in a little bit of that perspective.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right. So I would love to, actually, Dinara, I'd love to start with you, because Home Chef, doesn't a super techie place to work, I think, when we're all sort of thinking about it. And that's what I really love about these career expos, is that, as people start to envision what their career could look like in tech, it isn't the same sort of box that we've been working in for the past however many years. There's so many growing and new and innovative opportunities to work in tech. So can you tell us what it's like at Home Chef and what it is that your team does there? And actually, can you tell us a little bit about what Home Chef does too?
Yeah, absolutely. So Home Chef is a meal kit company. It basically sends you order a box of meals, and then sometimes in like raw ingredients, and it gets sent to your door every week, and then you either heat them up or you cook them from scratch, and somewhere in between as well. And it's a very convenient service, especially for folks who are not able to go grocery shopping or find themselves throwing away a lot of their groceries, or folks who are just very busy. And the business analytics team is part of the tech team, and we work on everything to do with analytics, as the name suggests. So we enable our business stakeholders to extract insights from the data that we have, both data that is coming from our internal tools, as well as third-party sources, like if you're, any business to customer B2C company, data sources like Facebook ads or Google ads. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does. And I don't know if you're looking in the chat feature, if you go to chat and click on stage, there's a lot of Home Chef fans listening today. So that's pretty cool. I love to see that. That's exciting. Angie, can you tell us about your role at JP Morgan Chase and what your team does?
Yeah, I'm a recruiter though. So does that still want to hear about that?
I am so sorry. I have had this head chest cold forever. Apologies for that. I'll try to go on mute for my coughing. Yeah, well, you're recruiting. Yes, I think that is pretty self-explanatory. But can you talk a little bit about the tech team, the work that individuals that are maybe in software engineering do at JP Morgan Chase?
Yes. Basically, JP Morgan Chase is a global firm in the financial services industry, but we have products that can touch anyone in the world. So our clients are your next door neighbor that needs an auto loan. It's also governments, hospitals, real estate corporations. So both big, small, medium size, we can help everyone. We have our consumer and community bank, which is Chase. So that's going to be more of your home loans, auto loans, checking, savings, credit cards for your, average consumer. I myself have a credit card versus if someone has a $2 million portfolio, they might be working with their asset wealth management side. So as you can imagine, we have a ton of transactions being processed every single day. We have a ton of trading platforms. And so a lot of these need to be very heavily digital and really accurate, secure, and high speed technology. And then we also have a lot of technologists. I'll back up. We have over 55,000 technologists around the world at JP Morgan Chase. So they're working on all these different applications. We have external facing applications and products as well as internal facing. So we can have a product that only bankers can see. So the end customer might not see that, but it's vital for the branch employees to do their work, as well as, let's say, like our legal team, they might need a tech application that a technologist can work on. So loads of opportunities within technology. We are absolutely, paving the way in our industry as far as innovation and technology. Our CEO, Jamie Dimon, we're very fortunate. He's very tech minded, and he's trying to evangelize, every day that we're more and more of a tech company. JP Morgan Chase has a commitment to invest $14 billion into technology every year, of which $3 billion goes towards brand new initiatives. So we have a very strategic vision for 2023 of where we're looking to modernize our applications, and kind of, be leading in our industry to make sure that we are, on the forefront of those cutting edge technologies.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. First of all, that is far more tech than I think that the average person would expect. And I really appreciate
right. They think like, software engineer at a bank, what can I do? There's so much. Yeah.
Especially when there's so many levels and so many different, I think with all of this work, once you break it down and think about it, obviously there needs to be algorithms so that we're all able to engage in an easier way. But I love the way that you broke it down. So thank you so much.
Good. Excellent.
And Patricia, you're here. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. So Patricia is from ServiceNow. Patricia, we kicked off both Angie and Dinara just saying what it is that a little bit about their company and what it is that they do at their company. Do you mind giving us a brief introduction of yourself in ServiceNow?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Hey. I'm Patricia Walker, and I am an engagement lead for ServiceNow. I'm on the talent outreach and engagement team. My sole job is to work with partners such as GDI and others to evangelize what we do at ServiceNow and invite you to apply to our wonderful opportunities. So ServiceNow is a software company, a cloud platform company. We specialize in helping people figure out their problems. So a lot of you probably have used the ServiceNow platform before and didn't know it. We have 8,500 customers right now. 80% of them are Fortune 500 companies. But basically, we come into a company, and if you have an issue, we try to come up with a solution digitally. So we help you, what we like to say, workflow it. So if you have a problem with your systems not talking, we use our platform to help you with that. If you like to streamline your workflows, we use our platform to do that as well. And we work with a lot of different industries. For instance, during COVID, our platform is used for the NBA bubble. So ticketing processes and things like for let's say Walmart, you have an issue, customer service issue, and you file a complaint or you reach out to them, you're using our system or our platform. So there's many different ways to use our platform, but that's just a few. Opportunities that we have are, I don't want to say endless, but there are a lot of different ones. Of course, we have a lot of technical opportunities because we're a tech company. But we also have opportunities where if you have an interest in tech but want to do something a little differently, you can do that as well. So if you're into UX, UI, user experience, or if you want to be a tech writer, or if you even are interested in sales, we have those opportunities as well.
That's fantastic, Patricia. Thank you so much. I love really all the different perspectives that you all bring to this space, being in such different companies, but also different sizes and different expectations for what the technologists do. We actually have a lot of really cool questions that have been coming in through the chat. So I'm going to divert a little bit from what we had talked about earlier. I do want to give an opportunity, because we have a ton of questions coming in about, Angie's, for instance, your cohort hiring process that you mentioned. And also Patricia, just the work that you do being out there in the field. Can you each give us a second to explain a little bit about what your hiring process looks like for folks that are listening today? Angie, can we start with you?
Yes. So I'll start by saying, every company's process is different, and every hiring manager and recruiting team's preferences will be different, but I can speak to our own. And then also keeping in mind that we hire for a cohort twice a year. So it's more of like a scaled approach for a high volume of applications and a high volume of openings. But for our interview process, we start off with our application opening for the cohort, which we'll market and get kind of folks excited for that. And then when it opens, it's open for about 2 weeks. You apply via our website, submit your resume, making sure your tech stack is at the top, highlighting any projects that you've worked on, just so we can kind of get a feel of your proficiencies. And also, highlighting your background. We love to see that as well, kind of that story of where you've come from. And then once you submit your resume, as long as you meet all of our visa requirements, things like that, you're sent 2 assessments for our process. The first being a coding challenge via HackerRank, which coding challenges, I'm in my 4th year of technical recruiting, and I used to recruit for Microsoft, Cisco, Wells Fargo. Coding challenges are pretty standard. I also used HackerRank at Microsoft. So that's pretty standard, I would say, for the industry. But we have HackerRank, 60 minutes to answer 2 questions, and they're rated easy to medium questions. And then we also invite folks to do a higher view video interview, which is definitely unique, again, because we have such a scaled model. We can't have video interviews with everyone one-on-one, but we're asking those more behavioral questions, tell me about a time when, et cetera, wanting to get to know folks' soft skills. For the entry-level population, we're really looking for folks that have that grit and drive to come in, succeed, and drive their own career. And then our final interview is a 12-hour virtual hackathon, which is certainly very, very unique. But it gives our hiring managers the opportunity to see how they solve problems real time, see how they work in a group. Are they inclusive of others? Do they speak up when they need help? And that is our interview process.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing that. That sounds very unique and super interesting. And as an organization that really loves hackathons, I love to be able to see how that's utilized in creating that, because so much of your personality and work ethic and team abilities come out in a hackathon. So super creative, smart. I love that. Thank you. Dinara, can you tell us a little bit about Home Chef and the individuals that might be interested in learning more about what your team is doing right now?
Absolutely. I actually didn't mention that we do have actual software engineering teams as well at Home Chef. We have about 80 folks total on our tech team, which includes software engineering, business analytics, which I'm part of, IT and product teams. And software engineering comprises most of the tech team. And I'm going to be a little bit self-promoting here, kind of what the previous speaker was talking about, but I have heard from multiple folks on our tech team that Home Chef is one of the best kept secrets in terms of how good of an employer it is, at tech team specifically and in the wider organization as well. So for Home Chef, we do hire folks that are of different levels and at different stages in their career. And for both business analytics team and tech, like the software engineering team, we do have coding challenges, and we do evaluate folks on their technical skills and their collaboration skills. So a lot of these things are very similar to what Angie was talking about. And these are fundamental, I would say, to being, to writing code basically and collaborating within a team. And we do have behavioral questions as well. And we pay a lot of attention to how a person interacts with an interview, collaborates, hears different perspectives, and talks about how they have included, people in conversations and how they navigated perhaps kind of difficult situations and different demands from kind of different parts of the business. So these are all kind of straightforward things that I would think you would expect from an interview process. But I think Home Chef does not promote itself a lot outside of maybe today. But I do believe we're one of the best in terms of how healthy and welcoming and just kind of easy it is to work here and do your best work here. And one of the things that I find myself kind of comparing when I talk to other folks in other companies is it's a lot easier at Home Chef to try different things and sometimes fail. And it's just a very kind of healthy environment to start your career and grow. And we have had a lot of internal promotions as well. So it's definitely a great place to kind of start your career or continue.
Right. Thank you. And we have so many folks really in our community and that are listening today that are in the process of pivoting and trying to find a space where they can thrive and continue to grow. So thank you so much for sharing that perspective in terms of where sort of Home Chef is and the way that it's engaging the individuals that are applying and that work there already. So thank you. Patricia, will you share with us a little bit about ServiceNow's process for engaging new talent?
Sure. So there are several ways that you could come into ServiceNow. One is the traditional way of applying to our ATS. And if you do that, we have a opportunity for you to kind of sell yourself and give us a little blurb or your 30-second speech about you. A lot of candidates forget to fill that information out, but I think it's really helpful if I'm a recruiter and I'm looking at a lot of applications to kind of get to know you. So make sure, one, you fill that out. So you submit your application to our site. Recruiters will then, or sourcers would review the resumes, and if they felt like, it was a good match, then would reach out to you for a phone conversation. We actually do phone interviews. And if that goes well, and you sell yourself really well and you feel like, what we have to offer, you're interested in still, then we would continue the conversation with a hiring manager. It's usually a 1 to 2 round of interviews for the actual opportunity. And then we will follow up with, yes or no answer. And that's kind of the main way to get in. The other 2 ways, we have 2 different emerging talent programs. One is Rise Up. That's a new program for us that we hope to actually train about 1 million people on our platform over the next 2 years. And the other is Next Gen. And so both of those, we actually train you on our platform, train you on other software, and then give you an opportunity to apply to applications within our company, or we connect you with one of our clients and place you in those opportunities.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patricia. That's super comprehensive. And again, just a really great way to be able to meet people where they're at, which I think is really important. before we sort of get back on track with some of our questions, I would really love to know from each of you sort of how you got to where you are, working and being able to speak to what it takes to be a technologist or a designer in the fields that you're in. Patricia, can we start with you and we'll go backwards this time?
So I've only been in the tech field for 2 years, and that's with ServiceNow. I live in the Houston area, so the main source of income here is oil and gas. So I have a broad background of oil and gas. I've been in recruiting for about 20 years now, maybe 23 years. And so just working with various companies within the oil and gas industry and also nonprofit. For me, the way I got into this role is someone actually reached out to me on LinkedIn. So it's really important to get your LinkedIn profile up to date and make sure, that it's robust. Because someone reached out to me on LinkedIn about an opportunity as a contingent here at ServiceNow. And I did that for about a year and then found an opportunity and a place to land. So I've been in this role for a year now.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Tanara, will you share with us your story?
Absolutely. Yeah. I realized in my bio, I was a little bit cryptic about my past before tech. To summarize, I did have a bachelor's degree in computer science. And then I worked in management consulting and at the State Department for 6 years before I kind of went back into tech. I completed a data science boot camp. And one of the big parts of that was basically finding your first data gig. And I went out and networked and talked to folks. At the time, I was working at a different company, not at Home Chef, and I found the company's data scientist at an event, and we just started nerding out about data science. And just having that kind of excitement and like genuine conversation with people is great. And they remember that you know what you're talking about and that you're excited about it. And they'll keep you in the back of their head. So having those kinds of conversations and little nerd outs with people and showing your excitement and sharing that excitement is very, very helpful for finding a job. And it's almost like contagious. Like people will remember you, people will mention you to other people. And so the job at Home Chef, I got it because I was at a meetup where the director of data was talking about actually how to get hired, interviewing process, all of that. And afterwards, he was just like surrounded by a bunch of people wanting to talk to him a little bit more. And I was like, can I add you on LinkedIn? Can we grab coffee at some point? He said, when the dust settles a little bit, I'm just being kind of mobbed by all these folks. And in a couple of weeks, I reached out and we grabbed coffee. And he said that he had an opening for a junior position on his team. And I interviewed. I was very nervous. It was my first like full-on tech position, like on the tech team, coding every day. But it worked out. So I would say if I would give you like a big tip about based on my experience is networking can be fun. It doesn't have to be very like mechanical. You can share your excitement, share your knowledge in kind of stealth mode a little bit, I guess. I wasn't throwing my knowledge at people in an unsolicited way. And they will notice and they will keep you in mind and they will recommend you as a good hire. Or in the case of Home Chef, I was talking directly to the hiring manager and he saw that I had the knowledge and I had the excitement to join the team.
I love that. Thanks so much for sharing. So far we've got 2 people who have really touted LinkedIn for being the way to move up, and that's why we've got a bunch of LinkedIn sessions in our agenda. So don't miss those. Little plug. But yeah, we've got comments coming in, and I couldn't agree more that that personal approach and really, especially just being in this world of remote learning and engagement and remote working, you sort of might not think that going to meetups, being present, making those real-time connections and sort of showing your personality really does have a lot of value. So thank you for sharing that, Dinara. Angie, will you share with us, please?
Yes. I just want to make sure of the question. I'm just kind of talking about like background and.
Yeah. We would love to hear how you are, really what brought you to the place that you're at with JP Morgan Chase, how you got started in this space.
Okay. So my background is actually in education. I am a big sister and I grew up taking care of kids and volunteering at church. So I thought I was going to be an educator all my life. And then my first job out of college was as an English teacher in Japan, where I was well paid and well treated. And I did not want to come back to the US where that likely would not be the case. So I wanted to make a pivot. So my best friend is in technical recruiting. She's absolutely my recruiting mentor and thought I might like it. So I worked with a recruiting agency where I was recruiting for clients, like I mentioned earlier. And I just fell in love with talking to folks and just calling them up and saying, hey, what do you do? What excites you in your role? What would you want to find in a new role? And I just loved, I was recruiting a lot in the Bay Area. So I was getting to talk to folks at Amazon and all the FANG companies, Visa, Apple, stuff like that. And I was just so intrigued. And I love building those relationships with candidates. And then, they have such a technical skill set, but then I also have helping them get through the interview process, helping refine your resume, things like that. So I love that partnership. And now at JP Morgan Chase, I have the opportunity to partner with entry-level talent and helping people who are very often career changers. So people that join the ETSI program, which is the abbreviation for Emerging Talent Software Engineers, a lot of them come from all types of backgrounds. Like just thinking of folks that started in the last couple of months, we had a music teacher, another band director, a truck driver, an Uber driver, a guy that was in a corporate marketing role, another guy that was in human resources. So they come from all over and they want to make a pivot and then get into tech. And I just love the diversity in perspectives and backgrounds because we don't have an education requirement. So people come in with master's, doctorates, high school diploma, GED, associate's degrees, and that lends so much to a role and to a team when you have those diverse perspectives brought on. And I was actually on a call with our CIO this morning, and Lori Beer, she spoke on the importance of making sure that our technologists reflect our consumer base and how, that diversity is just so important.
Thank you so much. And thank you too for sharing about your own career pivot from education, because I know personally a bunch of individuals that are in GDI and really in our community that are currently educators and are working, in the evenings and on the weekends through those boot camps and getting those classes with us to be able to make that pivot. So it's really awesome to hear from individuals that have personally made that pivot. I know you've all sort of had a little bit of a pivot too, just given your past careers and experiences and what got you here. So thank you so much for sharing that. I think that that's really important for people to hear, that it's not too late, that it's not too impossible, and that we all have those really transferable skills, especially in tech, when you might not think that it might feel very formulaic. The expectations might seem so set in stone, when in actuality, so much of what we're doing every day is what happens in tech. And I do just want to reiterate the value of having a team that reflects a customer base. I think that is really important. So I wanted to also address some of the questions that are continuing to come in. A lot of you have talked about, using LinkedIn, going to networking, having personal connections in your fields. Can you give a recommendations on ways individuals, maybe even, for example, in this setting, might be able to make an impact or stand out in a way that you can help get yourself ahead in a virtual space? So many of you are working with recruitment and like working with, people that are part of this pivoting process right now. What recommendations would you have for folks that join boot camps or meetups or virtually to be able to stand out? Dinara, can we start with you, since you were the one that talked about really bringing your personality to that space?
Absolutely. So it's really difficult for me, my own perspective, because I've never been hired remotely, but I have hired folks who applied remotely, and the only interviewing process we ever had was through a screen. And I would say the point about personality still stands. Because you're not there in the same room with the person, you really need to make sure your personality shines. Get a good night's sleep, good breakfast, make sure you are feeling at your best to set yourself up for success, so that you have that energy and that your personality shines. And listen carefully to what the person is asking you and what they're interested in, and make sure that you are answering their question really. So you may think that maybe you have something prepared ahead of time that kind of fits the question, so you might go into this big kind of spiel about it. The other person might just turn off if you are not answering exactly what they're asking for. And they can also, someone who's interviewed many times, many people, Angie can probably confirm, Patricia can probably confirm, you can differentiate people who are giving you a canned answer versus those who are stopping, maybe thinking about it for a second, and then giving you a really thoughtful answer that really hits what the recruiter or the hiring manager is trying to understand. So, I hope that kind of your question.
No, thank you. And perspective, I think that there's probably even something more to be said from a hiring manager perspective about what it is that set someone apart, especially in this virtual space. So thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Patricia, can you share with us your recommendations?
Sure. I think we've all said it about, your LinkedIn profile, and then also on your resume, making sure you have your projects and things there. But when you're actually talking to someone, just really being forward with what you want, what you hope to accomplish, what your goals are. It may require you reaching out, especially if you're pivoting from another career, reaching out to others that you find on LinkedIn and that are in the particular positions that you're looking for. Reach out to them, even if you don't know them, connect with them, ask them questions, see if you could maybe do just a coffee chat or something over the internet for, 10 minutes of their time, just to get an idea of what the expectations are, of the role, and how do they get there, and learn their story, and be able to tell your story too. Why are you actually, wanting to move into this role and pivot into a new career? It's really important. And when you do get a chance to get in front of the company, really sell yourself. Know your skills and your skill levels. Be honest. And if you don't know something, we always say here, if you don't know, then just say you don't know. And always a good answer. I don't know, but I can definitely find out. Take the next to say that you want to find out, or that you can find out if you don't know the answer.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think that that's really important to hear from someone who's, working to acquire talent. That's saying, being that honest and having that transparency really goes a long way. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Angie, will you share with us, what it is that stands out for you?
Yeah, honestly, I would have to echo so much of what Dinar and Patricia have already said. LinkedIn is definitely important. I think also I would add to that follow-up and making it genuine. There's a lot of like, use this template to reach out to a recruiter. And as a recruiter on the receiving end, they tend to get a little bit stale. And I can instantly tell when someone is just genuinely writing a message to me versus that template message.
Yeah.
And I totally get, I've been a job seeker, I get where it's coming from, but just remember that we're hiring humans, and even my hiring managers, they want to know your why. If you come into a job interview and you're saying, I'm switching from teaching to software engineering because I want to be rich and make money, that's the last thing they want to hear. Or I want to work remote and travel the world. That's what they want to hear, right? At the end of the day, we're running a business. So they want to know your why, like what makes you passionate, what's going to keep you in the role when things are getting hard and when you're having to make those hurdles. We want to learn about you. I touched on earlier how valuable those diverse backgrounds and perspectives are. Don't be afraid to leverage that. For example, I was a barista at Starbucks, just as an example, for 6 years. And that, had me in a fast-paced environment, super collaborative. I had to learn on the fly, things like that, just kind of be ready to touch on how that ties in. Patricia also said listening to folks, just asking questions, learning about the other person, but then having your pitch ready. Be ready to say, this is my background, this is what I'm doing currently, this is what my next step is, this is what I'm looking for. If you come to me and I don't have an opening for you, but you have a clear direction of what you're looking for, I might be able to reach out to my network and say, okay, I don't hire DevOps engineers, I don't hire SREs, but let me go ping my colleague who does, because you clearly told me what you're looking for. So all to say is just be yourself and be genuine. And I think that goes so far.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I think it all goes back to choose not saying what you think you should say, right? Not saying what the expected answer is. So thank you so much for sharing that. We've seen this question come up a couple of times, so I'm not going to put anyone on the spot, but I would love if you feel so compelled to jump in and answer it if it speaks to you. We've been hearing a lot about sort of the influx of tech layoffs. So I'm wondering, does anyone have any insight on sort of what the climate is in the hiring space for tech engineers, especially when there are so many more experienced engineers going for jobs comparable to what, individuals that are just starting out in the tech space might be looking for? What is that looking like to you? What's your insight there?
I would say that ServiceNow is a little different. Our president and CEO made a commitment that he would not lay off anyone in 2023. So we have been trying to keep that commitment. And what's unique, I think, here is we've set up what we call bungee assignments. So for areas that aren't that busy right now and normally would, you get a chance to work in another department, learn another skill, and still, keep working. So you're expanding your portfolio. So that's what ServiceNow is doing. I think in general, you have seen a lot of layoffs. Some of it, I think, is the economy. Some of it may have been the way the company staffed in the past, and maybe they overstaffed and now are just kind of leveling the field for them. And, was staying within budget. Everything I think is cyclical. So I think this will pass hopefully soon. But, in every industry, there's some kind of cycle where we go through these kind of ups and downs. And I think right now, the downturn right now is for technology. But I think it will change.
That's awesome. Thank you. Dinara, Angie, do you either have anything to add to that, or also with that sort of space where we have individuals that are competing against those that might have more experience, what advice you have to get your foot in the door, to stand out if you are a new engineer and you're going up against these more experienced faces?
I would say look at the roles in your market and the tech stacks that they're hiring for, and see if your proficiency is a match. A lot more hiring managers want folks to hit the ground running, if you will. And so if you are leaning towards, and I see this a lot, if you're leaning towards a very like front end heavy UI, more like design kind of development role, but so many companies need a lot more back end, full stack, Java, database roles, there's a little bit of a mismatch there. And I see that a lot actually, is people are really drawn to that front end creative side, but the industry that's not what the industry is needing. So make sure your tech stack is in demand. That'll set you apart a lot. On the recruiting side, I see a huge influx of folks wanting those UI front end roles. And the first person that says, I actually want a Java backend role, they're kind of the minority. And so they're setting themselves apart in that way. And again, just like I said earlier, just making sure you are able to present yourself well and have that story and that why of why you want to get into tech. And then also selling that, like, once in the role, I will drive my career and I'll be the one to, get up to speed on what I need to.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I have like different advice for people who are just starting their career versus those who are kind of continuing it. I'm going to start with those who are just starting their career. It's a lot harder to get hired in a situation like this. Like Katie mentioned, there's a lot of folks who are a lot more experienced than you are in the industry. So how do you get a leg up? There are two things you can do. You can keep working on your technical skills and try to get some experience, maybe working with a nonprofit or some sort of way to show your abilities, but also to get some actual experience in the industry. It can also be contributing to open source projects, for example. And the other thing that I keep talking about is making sure you have your network and your relationships like fresh, right? Because no matter how much tech talent is out there looking for jobs, people do like to work with people they know and the people that they can rely on. Or they would recommend you to someone else who might be hiring. So it might be not the person in your network, but it's someone they know that might hire you. So I understand it's tough, but those are some of the things that you can do as someone who is just starting out. Someone who has some experience and is currently looking for a job. Again, it's tough. It's probably going to be difficult for you to be hired for a position that's a little bit like above your current sort of level, right? If you're trying to like upgrade your career by being hired on at a higher level, that's probably going to be more difficult for you because there's going to be a bunch of people who are already on that level applying for that same job. So I would say think about where you are currently and what your strengths are currently, and apply and kind of think about getting into jobs in that area. I'm not saying do not apply for anything higher than that, but be ready to kind of lower a little bit what you're aiming for, because that would increase your chances. Because it's like, as I said, just like the application pool there is probably going to be somewhere where you can compete really and really show off and kind of lean into your strengths fully and shine in comparison to other candidates. So that kind of reflects what Angie was just talking about, that hiring managers are looking for people who are going to hit the ground running.
That's so great. Thank you all so much. I know we only have a few minutes left, and I think that all of, usually we end with like, what tip or piece of advice do you have? But all of you have really spent this entire time giving advice, which has been so helpful and empowering to those that are watching and listening. So I would love to end with hearing from each of you about what surprises you most about the work that you do?
I'll go first. I think
can I just say you're all doing exactly what you're supposed to do in an interview, which is think thoughtfully.
I'm trying to think of a good way to put this because it might not be, what we want to hear, but
no, but that's what we're supposed to be doing, right? This is what you're teaching us, that we're supposed to not just say what we think people want to hear.
I do see a lot of people wanting to pivot into tech for various reasons, and then they get into it and are overwhelmed and realize it might not be the best fit. Mm-hmm. So to that, I would say really, truly, get your elbows dirty and get into the work before you jump into that role and you're 3 months in on a project that you need to deliver on and you realize I just don't enjoy this. Because a lot of people say, honestly, a lot of people get into it for the money. It can be very lucrative, but it's not easy. It pays well for a reason. So really understand not only your why, but if this is really, truly a fit for you. I stay in recruiting because I know that if I were in a technical role, I would crave that, human approach of recruiting. So, everyone has our different skill sets. So kind of knowing in what type of role you'll best be able to leverage what you're good at. Just be honest with yourself.
I love that, Angie. Thank you.
I would say what surprises me is the amount of opportunities and the way that you can pivot into tech and the different ways you can come in surprised me coming from a different industry. And then also, I think, and I don't know if it's like this with all companies, I was really surprised how team oriented our company is. Everything we do pretty much is, team oriented. That's one of our actual core values, win as a team. So we kind of set ourselves up for a team environment, and I like being on teams. So I've really enjoyed that. And then what also surprises me, and shouldn't be surprised how smart people are in the tech industry. Just I feel like I have to up my game all the time to make sure that, I can stay with everyone else and be competitive. But it's been a really surprisingly great experience.
Thank you, Patricia.
Yeah, I would say this is something that kind of keeps surprising me a little bit from time to time, is that how much tech is about humans. So maybe people think about tech as, it's just like someone at night, dark screen with green letters, just like coding.
Yeah, wearing like a hood. And
yeah, exactly that. But I think one thing to keep in mind, especially as you're just entering the tech industry, is that it is about humans. If you're working on a team, people are going to read your code. People are going to debug, refactor, maintain your code. People are going to use the products that you create. So having empathy and having the soft skills that are necessary is very, very important. And one of them is interviewing, and another one is networking. So keep all of that in mind, and remember that tech is for humans.
Oh my gosh, what a great sentiment to end on. I mean, you all spoke to that, right? Just being surprised by really the humanity and the human element that individuals bring to this space. So I really am so truly grateful to the three of you for taking time out of your very busy days to share with us what we can expect, what insights there are in this field, what it looks like from your perspective of where you are, and sort of what your industry and your company does to make products and to move things forward. So thank you so much for the time you've taken to do that. It's really a joy to sort of learn more about you too as well. So thank you for sharing with that. Before you hop off, for those of you that are watching, our next session is actually, we have a bunch of sessions that are happening. Some of them overlap, so you can jump between sessions, but it's about maximizing LinkedIn, which is a perfect sort of tie-in to what was talked about during this panel discussion. For those of you that are in front of your computer, on the very top, there's a red bar. Right now, we're on the stage where we're watching this panel. If you click on the agenda button, that will bring you to all the sessions that we have coming up. And you can just click the little sort of yellow tab that says join, and that will bring you into the session that you want to go in and learn more about. So you'll be able to see when you click on the agenda, all the things that we have coming up, so you can sort of decide what you want to start with, where you want to go throughout the day. And we have sessions through 4:30 Eastern. So we look forward to seeing you in some of those sessions. And thank you again to our awesome panelists today. Looking forward to seeing you all out there. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.